An understanding of sorcery is not necessary to use the ring, Dr. Kyle says. But the Vitae it stores moves in ways you might recognize from certain rituals. I can train you in its use in less than an hour. Help me, and it's yours tonight. I might be willing to help you, if you're willing to teach me again. Are you? I'm interested in helping you. Would you be willing to help a friend of mine? Julian Sim could use a scholar of your talents. Okay, we'll fake your destruction. Give me the garnet ring. It's hard to say no to a magic ring, though Leto won't be happy if he finds out. It's that simple, a cash payment in exchange for helping you fake your destruction? You know the Camarilla won't let me help you. I've picked my side. I don't work for you. Not anymore. I rise and dare her to stop me. She tosses you the ring. You can see the Vitae swirling around in it. Walk with me, brace yourself for some pain, and we will discuss its operation. You slide the ring onto your finger and wince as a hidden blade on the inside slides into your flesh. But your sire has always been an excellent teacher, and you soon learn how to move Vitae to and from the garnet ring. You feel it fighting for control, and force it to yield to you through strength of will. Dr. Kyle looks a bit surprised by the extent of your power. Invidia smiles, a dazzling expression that ripples across her face and momentarily makes her look like a real person, not an animated corpse. But then her heavy brows knit together in thought. This will take careful timing, she says. Ideally, here is what will happen. Act 12 here gets into your truck, so it looks like I'm going to Tucson to speak directly to Prince Leto. I will drive to where the vampire hunters are staying. I know several Camarilla fronts between here and Tucson. When we reach one, you text me with a number that corresponds to where you are, and then Real Me tells the vampire hunters where you are. You stop to get gas. They show up. You peel out, leaving Act 12 vulnerable. They burn her to ash. Since you're at a Camarilla front, at least one of Prince Leto's retainers witnesses my destruction. You've tangled with hunters before, so you and Invidia go over every possible detail and angle of approach until late into the night. By the next evening, you're ready to go. Your sire slips a positively antique burner phone into your front pocket. Text me when you find a good place, she says. I need to prepare a good disguise so I can meet the hunters. I'm still not happy with how little I know about this plan. I'm not getting dusted for my sire. I want to ask you about Giselle. She's suffering, you know. I can't wait to beat the shit out of some scrub hunters. You've wandered the highways for too long if you fear a van full of scrub hunters, Kyle says. Consider this a learning opportunity and a chance to hone your skills. Kyle disappears to make plans. Act 12 isn't much of a conversationalist, but she can follow basic instructions and even recite a few rote sentences. You stick a pair of cheap sunglasses on her face so no one notices her vacant stare. When you pass the Shell station where you dropped off your old phone, you see that it's been burned to the ground. Julian is playing a dangerous game. And now you are, too. and now outside Tucson in a place called Mescal, you spot an eagle circling overhead. You can't tell if it's Riga, but from the overcrowded look of the nearby mobile home park, you know that the kindred are active here. You pull into one of the 24-hour gas stations your sire believes Prince Leto monitors, a rundown quick mart between an upscale residential neighborhood and those mobile homes. The woods dividing the communities are full of concertina wire to keep people on their side of the line. You send a text to Dr. Call, 8. This is the 8th of 23 locations you and she planned on. She'll pass the message along to the vampire hunters, who have already been alerted to your movement in the area. Then all you have to do is shove IC-12 out the passenger door and get out. This is a good location. The garage near the gas station belongs to Prince Leto. And another one you passed a mile back has the Karambit logo of one of Julian Sim's companies. You noticed it on your way here. 2 defensible locations within a few miles isn't bad. You park the Nissan in an out-of-the-way spot and get IC-12 outside so you don't lose the truck if someone blows her up with surplus military weaponry. Then you circle the quick mart on foot, checking for ways out of town both in your truck and on foot. When you get back within sight of your truck, you spot a black Econoline van rolling slowly through the quick mart parking lot. Off-road light bar, rear winch, tinted windows. Those are hunters. They park, and 4 men hop out of the back of the truck armed with a mix of shotguns and machetes, good weapons for putting vampires down. The driver is the last to exit. Like the others, she's wearing body armor, and her neck is conspicuously protected by an iron collar. These aren't frightened amateurs. Still, when they spot IC-12 and start closing in, you realize that Dr. Call's plan is working. They'll be able to surround and destroy her without difficulty, and you have a clear path back to your truck. Then all 5 hunters drop in less than a second. A moment later, IC-12 falls with something in her back that looks like a sparkler. She screams once as the hissing white sparkler flares. Then it burns her to ash. The next shot hits you dead center. You're slammed against a chain link fence. On your knees, you hear the hiss of the flare igniting. You look down and realize that it's hit the burner phone Nvidia gave you. You wrench it out of your front pocket, fighting your terrified beast, and hurl it away. A second later it explodes in a shower of white sparks, momentarily blinding you. You hear radio shatter as white sparks dance before your eyes. Primary target eliminated. Irregulars removed. Engaging secondary target now. Two agents with Phoenix badges on their arms close in. Unlike a lot of hunters, these troops have identification. They're with the 111th Military Intelligence Brigade. The C must be infiltrating the US Army. They're holding modified shotguns, almost certainly Dragon's Breath rounds, incendiaries that will burn you to ash. 4 more agents fan out behind them, armed with heavy automatic rifles. Their flak vests say FBI. The agents aren't wearing night vision goggles because of the flares, so they've momentarily lost you in the darkness. But they move with cool professionalism, turning on the flashlights attached to their weapons and sweeping the quick mart parking lot. You really only have 2 choices: do you go for your truck now or later? They haven't noticed your truck yet. They'll find you eventually on foot, but you can try luring them away from your truck. Or just jump in the Nissan now and peel out before they're fully organized. I jump in my Nissan and gun it, maneuvering around the dead hunter's van. I can't risk a foot chase. Commodex Plus drive, I jump in my Nissan. Stealing my nerves, I run over the 2 agents with Dragon's Breath shotguns before they open fire, then drive out of there. Commodex Plus drive, I slam the nearest agent to the ground. If I'm strong enough, I'll be able to drain him. Even if I can't, They probably won't shoot through one of their own to hit me. STR plus combat, I rush past them, squeezing off shots from my pistol. Their armored and small arms fire won't do much, but I keep my composure and run for the mobile home park. Com plus firearms, it should be easy to beat these armored troopers in a foot chase. I sprint as fast as I can toward the mobile home park. Dex plus athletics. Dragon's Breath is one of those threats Kindred are taught to fear but don't really worry about, like Methuselahs or the vampires of Cathay. Modifying a shotgun to fire incendiary rounds usually results in a shotgun that explodes in your face. Even if you get it right, the heat soon destroys the barrel. It's almost never worth it. Unless you're the sea. The two heavily armored agents level their modified shotguns as you start the Nissan's engine. You flash your high beams, momentarily dazzling them and fouling their first shot. They reload, take aim again. That's when you slam into them at 25 miles per hour. They fly back into the black knowing. One shotgun discharges, igniting the underside of the van. You accelerate hard as bullets fly all around you, maneuver around the burning van, and peel out onto the main road. When you risk a glance in the rearview mirror, you see two agents down and the cannoli ablaze. That went perfectly. You enjoy the freedom of the open road for about 5 seconds. Then two black Buick vans peel out of the nice residential community you're driving past and try to wedge you in. You hit the brakes, and they collide with each other, not you. One of the SUFs smashes through a half-dozen mailboxes, spins out, and falls behind, but the other one closes in. You need to make a decision fast. You might be able to outdrive them, but you're also close to both Prince Leto's territory and Julian's. You could head for either of their garages and hope that they like you enough to let you in and fend off a combined Army/FBI/etc. kill team. My relationship with the local Camarilla is good. I accelerate and race for their garage. Camarilla, my relationship with Julian is good. I accelerate and race for his garage. Julian, I accelerate and lose the SUFs, maneuvering through the residential community and trying not to cause too much property damage. Dex plus drive, I keep my headlights off and outwit them using my knowledge of the local streets. Wit plus streetwise, my enhanced senses will help me drive through the alleys in the dark. Auspex, I pull up behind them and open fire with my gun. It'll take some impressive manual dexterity to keep one hand on the wheel and the other on the pistol. Dex plus firearms. The mobile home park is such an overcrowded hive that you can't fit your Nissan down its streets, but there's a sprawl of gas stations, strip malls, and confusing signage up the road that you passed through a few years back. Confident that you remember how to navigate the snarl, you yank your e-brake, spin around as the Buicks blow past you, and race the other way. You dodge a hidden divider as you blow past a hair salon. The first Buick hits the unmarked divider dead-on, shredding a tire. The other SUV keeps on as you reach an adobe wall and slam on your brakes in front of a pawnshop. You can almost see the agent smiling as he leans out the passenger window with his automatic rifle. Then you throw the Nissan in reverse, cut the wheel, and disappear into a narrow alley between the pawnshop and an adjacent pet supply store. You basically vanish. The agent shoots anyway, peppering the adobe wall with high-caliber rifle rounds, but he's lost his shot. You look behind you to make sure there are no obstructions. It's clear. A moment later you spin back out onto the parking lot of an abandoned Burger King, then proceed to the highway. You only flick your headlights on when you're back on the interstate heading west. They've totally lost you. Well, that was certainly eventful. But you fulfilled your end of the bargain. Someone connected to Prince Leto must have seen Cool's final death, which means she's clear to pack up and restart without the Camarilla hassling her. You've made a powerful ally. Your garnet ring gleams as you head for Tucson. Dr. Cool was even nice enough to wash your truck. Now you just need to figure out what to tell Prince Leto. You've learned some interesting things about Dr. Cool's facility. Julian might want to know what you learned. His Dropbox isn't far, but you suspect that whatever Julian gets up to with Dr. Cool's research, it may draw both Camarilla and C attention. I write up everything I learned for Julian. Hopefully he'll be able to use this information to advance his plans. I write up some of what I learned, but I want payment for my hard work. I write up what I learned at the facility and drop it in the Banu Hakim's box. It's increasingly clear that Julian is my best chance to stay alive, not the Camarilla. I'm not sharing with Julian. I can't risk alienating Prince Leto. I'm burying this research. All it can do is make more vampires and make our awful existences more convenient. You print out a hard copy outlining what you've learned and drop off the summary. You're sure to make the hints you drop as tantalizing as possible. The next night, you find an envelope with $5,000 stuffed under the door, so you finish your write-up and drop off everything you've learned. A few nights later, one of Dove's retainers knocks on your door and tells you to meet Prince Leto at the Viper around midnight. While looking down through the floor-to-ceiling glass window at the frenzied dance floor, the Eagle Prince interrogates you about the sea attack and Dr. Cool's final death. You tell the prince what you saw, which is easy since you really did watch Cool crumble to ash. Either Prince Leto is a better liar than you will ever be, which is possible, or he really believes that your sire was destroyed the other night. And of course, since you successfully completed the delivery mission, you get more money to stuff under your mattress. You return to your parking garage and park the Nissan. You secure your parking garage, rechecking the security systems you established upon moving in, and go to sleep. the day you dream of flying. But this isn't a regular flying dream. No. This isn't even a dream. A memory. Or is it real? You're in an old single-engine prop plane high above the desert at night. You can almost reach out and touch the moon. You spot the Italian fighter plane too late. And a moment later its twin Vicuses are ripping into the wings of your Albatros D.EA. You twist through the air, but it's getting late and the rising currents of hot air you rely on are almost depleted. Bullets shred your engine, the black smoke would choke you if you breathed. For the past 3 weeks it had seemed as if all of the Sahara held only 2 planes. In seconds, you realize, it will hold only 1. Flames spread across your cockpit as you contemplate what you've learned in these last few horrific weeks. May 1916. If there's one thing centuries of war have taught you, it's that you miss the good life. You don't consider yourself greedy, exactly, and Canits only have a few real needs. But a nice haven where dappled moonlight spills down into a scented garden. Soft music and softer silk. Security, peace, wealth, contentment. Maybe a few fat gold coins to let slide through your fingers. By God, is that too much to ask of the world? I just want some money and material comforts. Let the pleasures of civilization flow through me, and let me escape the ugliness of poverty. I like the finer things, but I don't exactly need them. I defy this belief. You shake off these strange notions of luxurious living and drag yourself up out of sleep. You're not in North Africa during the Great War. You're not Ayla. Ayla is dead and gone. You're Celeste, and the sun has just set. You have work to do. You've learned quite a bit on your journeys. You might want to consider applying your experience toward training skills, abilities, or the dark arts of the kindred. I spent a night investigating local news services, looking for a cheap and effective way to spread misinformation. Government pawn shop. I find a used car dealership so I can look at better vehicles. I find a mechanic to repair my Nissan. I look for a real estate office so I don't have to live in a parking garage. I need a place where I can hone my mental abilities, like a library or bookstore. I look for some place I can hone my physical abilities, like a gym. I head to the Viper nightclub to hone my social abilities. Where can I unlock deeper and more powerful secrets of the blood? What are my remaining missions? I need to feed. Where and how can I hunt for blood in Tucson without getting into trouble? I pick up the parcel for the Bruchapato muster and take it to Street Basil's hospital. I pick up the parcel for an olive krona and take it to Campsvilla. For once you have your pick of late-night options, since quite a few Tucson gyms are open 24 hours. But you want more than just a gym, you want a place where you can conduct all kinds of physical training, and maybe even a place where you can employ specialists to help you out. Finally you remember a former blood old and useful contact you met one of the first times you were in Tucson. You hop online and find that your old contact Simon runs a gym called Paragon Fitness not far away. You head there and find an impressive-looking modern gym. Simon is watching two kickboxers practice their technique. You renew your acquaintance with the now middle-aged athlete and ask after unusual facilities. Gym, shooting range, regular and vehicle obstacle course, and we hold fights every Monday and Friday nights, Simon says. I still owe you for that thing in Tijuana, so you're welcome at any time. Just don't let anyone know what you are. We have citizens in here. Experience points, 10. Strength, dexterity, stamina, athletics, combat, drive, firearms, survival. Tucson is full of excellent auto body shops, but the only ones open late are in the pocket of the Camarilla and not any good. You suspect that Dove, the Nosferatu, has more or less exclusive access to them. You turn elsewhere, even checking around the edges of town, but nothing is open. Then you spot one of Julian's karambit symbols. You follow it around the back of a strip mall, past a dental office and a party supply store, to a small garage that is incongruously attached to a Chinese takeout place. A young woman in a dudung runs up to your window. "You order the curry?" she asks. Then she steps back and gets a better look at your truck. "Ah, I get it. Pull ahead." The garage is called Fine Motor Skills, and it looks like a professional operation headed by an older man and his sons while the women handle the takeout next door. The older man looks over your Nissan, stares at you for a long time, then nods. Apparently both of you pass the test. The youngest son even smiles a little. These aren't ghouls, but they know Julian, and as long as the Banu Hakim likes you, you should get reduced prices. Vehicle, Nissan Frontier. Speed, maneuverability, durability. Vehicle damage. Speed upgrade, $100 maneuverability upgrade. $100. Durability upgrade, $100. Wealth, $6,368. You tune the Nissan's radio to hear the news. This is Mel Pomini Chen, and you're listening to Mel at Midnight. And now the nerd news. Lester Bond of the Santa Fe Institute in Santa Fe recently published his findings on the so-called desert Stonehenge found in the California desert in the 1970s. Pointing to evidence of the tools used and recent dendrochronology results, Professor Bond claims that the work is a Victorian-era forgery. The desert Stonehenge drew Forteans, pseudo-archaeologists, and even Native American rights advocates in the 70s, but has subsequently fallen into obscurity as evidence emerged that it was of recent manufacture, but where it came from has not been clear until now. Elizabeth Sneeder, the online debunking service Cahoots, claims that Lester Bond is an archon of the 18th grade controlled by the New World Order. She's here with me now. Prince Leto has a strict rule against anyone but him hunting the Viper's dance floor. But this is a safe place to hone your social skills around kindred and kin alike, as well as an opportunity to enjoy yourself for a few hours. You park your Nissan in the lot across the street and head inside. You're instantly enveloped by the pounding EDM. Prince Leto is visible in the private glass box overhead. Alexander, watching from one of the balconies, tracks you down almost instantly. But once he's sure you're not going to try to feed, he bids you adieu. From here you can circulate freely, up to the balconies, down to the dance floor, out to the private and semi-private rooms, or up to the Elysium. Wherever you go, you'll be able to hone your social skills. Experience points, 3. Charisma, manipulation, composure, intimidation, leadership, persuasion, streetwise, subterfuge. Tucson, Arizona. Night of November 15. Sunrise, 6:53 a.m. The parking lot outside the Viper is a mess, even though it's too early for the party to really start. As you turn in, you have to slam on your brakes as a piss-yellow Chevy Nova SS roars past you and accelerates the wrong way down West Alameda. Do I have to make the roll down the window gesture? A clear, slightly accented voice says. Do people still understand that, or is it an anachronism? Prince Leto himself is standing outside, dressed in white and flanked by the mortal flunky you remember from last time. He tries to say something, but a GMC Denali rumbles past and he has to wait. Finally he says, "You have 2 deliveries this time, Celeste." 2 deliveries means 2 payments, Prince Leto. Is there a problem? Anything I can help with? If I can impress Prince Leto, I can improve my position in the Camarilla. What's changed? After what happened to Leto's ghoul Miguel at Gear's Energenetics, I need to know more about the dangers out here. You look dashing this evening, Prince. I like the cowboy hat. Your response is drowned out by a Kawasaki bike that revs up and takes off. At least its rider goes the right way down the street. This is for Patamaster, Prince Leto says, handing you a portable push-button lockbox like the ones outside Ebn's. He's in the morgue. The prince also gives you a pass so you can get inside street. Basil's as a janitor. What about the other delivery? You ask. Someone will find you on the road, the prince says. Look for a red Corolla. That's dangerous and complicated, but Prince Leto has already walked away to talk to another courier. There are, 5 in this parking lot. You don't recognize any either. Most of them must be Prince Leto's personal flunkies. What the hell is going on? You push it out of your mind. You know where you're going. Whatever finds you on the road will find you. As always, you've done your research, Street. Basil's Hospital in Phoenix is a crowded, underfunded Catholic hospital that began as a psychiatric facility. It was corrupt even before the Canets moved in, with multiple scandals involving patient abuse, embezzlement, and accounting fraud that reached the local papers. You've already noted exits, nearby safe houses, good places to park, and several abandoned buildings where you can hide if things go bad. Julian calls you somewhere around exit 200. Do you want to know what's on the USB? He asks. You glance at your duffel bag. The push-button lock isn't one of the cheap ones you can defeat with the tricks you know, and besides, the USB is probably encrypted. Then you glance at your phone. Julian is insane to call you. Anyone could be listening. Before you can answer, Julian says, Street. Basil's is getting a makeover. Big floor-to-ceiling windows, a modern admissions systems, a new morgue. In other words, no place for rats like us to hide. The Eagle thinks it's an C plot. I'm not so sure, though I bet they'd love to pick off homeless rats when they're forced to flee. Since the Eagle doesn't want that, the USB you're carrying contains instructions for how to freeze out the hospital's current director and keep things as they are. But we can do better, Celeste. Tucson's boss is a brilliant financier, I'll give him that. And the artificial paper trail he's created will bury the current director, force her out in favor of some brainless lackey, and keep his creatures safe. But it can also be used to transfer power to someone else. Someone like us. You consider what to say. Julian is very confident in his ability to move the sea around the map by making them chase your phone, but that could get you killed. You should avoid saying too much. Taking over a whole hospital? That's ambitious, Julian. I'm legitimately excited about this audacious plan, but I want more information. What about the sea? I'm not scared. Just the opposite. I'd love to tear a hole in the Second Inquisition and neutralize them before they cause any more damage. We can't just take a hammer to Street. Basil's. I don't want to make a mess. Panicked kindred can violate the Masquerade, steal our assets to escape, or worse. You know that I'm not going to kill a bunch of cancer patients so you can have a new base, right? Give me details. My real plan is to clear out the parasites in this hospital, so I just let Julian talk as I figure out how to stop Patamaster. You're not going to pull the plug on anyone, Julian says. You won't even have to destroy any of our kind. All we're doing is transferring control of resources from one of the Eagle's flunkies to us. It's not like the people in charge now run this ranch for the good of the cattle, you know? How can we be worse? The process is simple: gain access to the street, Basil's computer system, and install the computer code I'm sending you. It's self-executing, so just drag and drop the little file and then double-click it. Just don't let the local boss figure out what you're doing until it's too late. One last thing: there's a Motel 6 a mile up the road. Walk into the public bathroom on the second floor and leave your phone in the trash. Don't destroy the SIM. Aha, a little pun there. Anyway, I put a fresh phone under the bathroom sink. Do all of that, and the C-team on your tail won't find and destroy you. I'm sure you know the drill by now, Celeste. He hangs up. You pull into the Motel 6 and do the phone trick again. You wonder if the Banu Hakim fully understands the game he's playing. Probably not. As you get back in your Nissan, your new phone buzzes when an email arrives with a zipped executable file. You stop to check the email and commit it to memory, because it includes an updated list of keywords the C is scanning for. You're between towns, about an hour from downtown Phoenix, when headlights appear behind you. They're coming up hard. You shift to feel the weight of the gun you wear under your leather jacket, then instinctively put a hand on your duffel bag, where you keep the data destined for Paternoster. The headlights blow past you, then the vehicle spins out, throwing up dust and grit. It skids to a halt 100 yards up the road, its headlights pointing out into the big expanse of nothing that waits outside every Arizona highway. You slow down when you see the red Corolla. Or to be more precise, the maroon Toyota E86. This is the car Leto mentioned. The little hatchback looks to be in good shape. What is it, 85, 86? It's an import regular left-hand drive. You slam on the brakes and swerve as a figure stumbles onto the road. You manage to control your spin and end up parked on the side of the road. You back up so you're next to the Corolla. Carlos is leaning against his passenger door, looking ashen and clutching his stomach. You haven't seen him since your first visit to the Tucson Elysium. Leto's servant Alexander said Carlos was a cop. That's a good thing for a vampire to keep on the payroll, though this guy doesn't look like a cop now. He looks like roadkill. It takes Carlos a moment to focus on you. He says something, but you can't hear him over the pounding beats of Kernkraft 400. Turn that down. You shout. He nods vaguely and crawls back into his car to turn the music down, leaving a smear of blood on the door handle. Celeste? Prince Leto actually sent you? The fucking usurper? You have something for me? You ask. You glance back toward the road, but it's quiet. Just a few cars drifting past, and none of them can see you or the 86. Carlos holds up a ruggedized plastic Pelican case in matte black, like you'd use to transport a pistol or a really good optical camera. Leto wants this delivered to a waiting plane. Where? He turns the case around. An address is taped to the other side. Blood has stained the tape. You consult your mental map of Arizona. That's 2 hours north. And you're not going north. And it needs to be there by 9:30. The plane can't wait longer than that. Fuck me. Are you okay? I don't want this guy dying on me. I might even try to stop that from happening. I'd rather eat him than fuck him. Miguel was delicious. Can I get it, Carlos? I run parcels for money, Carlos. Pay me or I'm finishing my delivery to Street Basil's. Who attacked you? The same people who killed Miguel at Gearwa's Energenetics. I need a bigger picture if I'm going to stay safe and undestroyed. If I could see them, I'd deal with it myself, Carlos says. I got shot when I was filling my tank. Never saw anything. Maybe hunters, maybe anarchs, who knows? I just know it fucking hurts, so shut up for a moment and let me concentrate. He closes his eyes as sweat pours down his face. After a moment he's breathing a little more easily, though his skin is still ashen. Unlike Miguel, Carlos is able to heal himself. Now stop asking questions and deliver this parcel, he says, throwing it through his driver's side window and onto your lap. Or Prince Leto will make Riga peck your eyes out while I watch. Don't let the Inquisition get it. Or the Anarchs. Anarchs, you say? Carlos restarts his E86 and draws on out of there, blasting your Nissan with dust and grit. You check the address one more time. 2 hours? This isn't a Scotty on Star Trek problem by all known laws of physics. Getting there in time is entirely possible. But it's a cops all over the road problem. You can't afford to get pulled over doing 105 down some Arizona highway. You check your maps and consider the possibilities. A busier road would let you weave through traffic and stay hidden, though you'd have to pay attention to avoid police cruises. There's also a less busy route, where you could just trust to raw speed and determination to get you where you need to go. Are those the only two routes? You might be able to find another way using your maps if you study them, but that might take time you don't have. First, I check out the case. What could be in it? I take a well-trafficked road and keep my eyes peeled to dodge cops and maneuver around trouble. Wit plus awareness, my supernatural senses will help me avoid traffic and police on the busy road. Auspex, I take a nearly deserted road and rely on my Nissan's raw speed and my own determination to outrace anyone else. Res plus drive, a sorceress ritual will hasten my journey along the less busy road. Blood sorcery, I need to use brains instead of driving tricks. I use my map reading skills and look for alternate routes. And plus academics. You check your maps one last time, then head for the busiest highway around. Traffic soon grows thick, even at this hour. And it requires all your concentration to dodge around semis and late-night traffic to avoid constant police patrols. As you travel, you spot a car following you. You dodge around another semi and try to get a good look at it. It's a black Camaro, specifically a 1987 EOC Z. Camaros were cheap muscle cars in your youth, beloved of metalheads and horsepower geeks, but as you try to get a better view of this one, it slips away around a van ... and suddenly it's gone. Camaros shouldn't be able to move like that. You slow down for a moment, then remember that you have places to be. You speed back up, still scanning for the Camaro, but it doesn't return. But your Nissan maneuvers quickly and well under your guidance, and you spot the speed traps well before you're within radar range. You brake at just the right times, then accelerate again, flying past traffic that seems almost at a standstill. You turn off an unlabeled side road with 15 minutes to spare and race for your target, the Pelican case bouncing on the passenger seat next to your duffel bag. N. You brake hard when the asphalt suddenly vanishes beneath your wheels, leaving you on a dirt path illuminated by starlight. You weren't exactly expecting a whole secret airport, but there's barely even an airstrip ahead of you, just a patch of hard-packed earth surrounded by jagged rocks in one direction and pine trees in the other. You're early. You can tell because you hear a buzzing whine overhead. You lean out the window and spot a small twin-engined light aircraft coming in for a landing. It should arrive in a minute or so. You roll your Nissan into position so you can hand off the parcel as quickly as possible. You're feeling entirely confident until the floodlights hit you. A half-dozen black Buick vans are now visible not far from your position. One SUV has a light strip on its roof, which illuminates the airplane and catches your Nissan at the edge of its light. The FBI's Special Affairs Division is here. You're just getting ready to roll backward when shots ring out. You duck, but they're not shooting at you. 3 wolves rush the SUV closest to the pine trees. One beast smashes right through the passenger window. A moment later, blood sprays all over the inside of the windshield. It takes you a moment to recognize them as kindred and probably anarchs. Well, at least it's not werewolves. As the wolf gangrels swarm out of the devastated SUV, more appear from the darkness and rush the Inquisition on ATVs. Armed with old rifles or cheap submachine guns, they open fire with wild abandon, laughing even when they get hit. What's a gunshot and a fall to the kindred? The ATVs throw up a cloud of dust that obscures the battle. You're not sure what the gangrel are doing here, but as the battle erupts, you have a clear path to the airplane. The pilot is visible now, illuminated in the open side door. Just before you can roll forward, a dark blue 1963 Ford Fairlane roars past you, heading for the plane. Its driver is visible only for a moment. In silhouette you catch a glimpse of a French braid and a heavy, hulking physique, but the federal agents with guns remain visible in the glow of the floodlight. The airplane rolls forward, getting ready to take off, but the side door remains open. You can throw the parcel in if you can just get close enough. Dust from the ATVs swirls around the runway. So it's a race then. You need to get this parcel to that airplane before those agents shoot the pilot to shreds. And you're doing it while gangrel anarchs rip into the FBI. You gun the engine. Even as you start to move, you analyze the field ahead of you. The raging battle to your right isn't actually your problem. Whoever wins, gangrel or the Second Inquisition, they won't be able to interfere before the plane takes off. The twin engine is moving faster now, its running lights and the glowing, rounded rectangle of its open door barely visible through the swirling dust. With the Fairlane in the way, there's no clear path where you can just accelerate hard and get close enough to throw the parcel. The path ahead is rough, dangerously rough at one point, where there's a large bump in the road that you'd hesitate to go over even in an old Ford. You know what? Fuck this and fuck Leto's errand. I ditch the parcel and get out of here before my truck gets trashed. I close in on the Fairlane and open fire with my pistol, staying composed as bullets fly everywhere. Shooting a few agents will give me time to drop off the parcel. Com plus firearms, I steer into the dust cloud. That clever and deceptive maneuver will confound the Fairlane's driver and let me get ahead of her. Wit plus clandestine/subterfuge, capped by drive, my supernaturally acute senses will make it easier to maneuver in the dust cloud. Common auspex, there has to be a straightaway where I can use my Nissan's speed. It won't be easy, but I look around for one in the few seconds I have to accelerate. Wit plus awareness, I enhance my senses and look for a straightaway. Common auspex, I take my Nissan right over that bump in the road and hold on with all my strength to cut around the Fairlane. STR plus drive, I steel my nerves and force that Fairlane off the road. Even through the medium of a truck I know how to scare someone. Char/reese plus intimidation, I rely on my throwing abilities to get the parcel into that door. It'll be hard to hit the target from so far away, but no harder than trying to drive across a battlefield. Dex plus athletics. This is far from the perfect place to look for a better path to the airplane, what with the bullets flying everywhere and that one gangrel ripping a federal agent to shreds in your rearview mirror. But the FBI has helpfully provided you with a floodlight, and even as you gain speed, you see the perfect straightaway. You tap the brakes and slide all the way behind and around the fare lane, incidentally avoiding the automatic weapons fire, then accelerate on its passenger side right toward a smooth, hard-packed stretch of earth. In seconds you've left the fare lane in the dust, though the agents keep shooting. Ignoring the gunfire, you accelerate so you're alongside the prop plane. You grab the Pelican case and fling it through the door. The airplane lifts off, you spin the Nissan around, blasting gravel, and get off the strip, dodging pine trees with your lights off as the gangrel/FBI battle rages behind you. But no one follows you, and after a few minutes you slow down. Another mission accomplished. You get back on the road towards Treat Basil's. You remind yourself that Prince Leto owes you another grand. Finally you reach Phoenix. Traffic is mercifully light once you're inside the city. You turn left at a Circle K and have no problem finding a parking spot near a chain-link fence. You step back and examine your truck, satisfied you can reach it from multiple directions. Your knockoff Panerai says 1:35 a.m. Street Basil's is a baroque monstrosity that looks like an invader from an older and darker city back east. Its bricks are discolored, its windows high and narrow, and one doomed attempt to modernize the structure just makes it look like a prison with a single watchtower of dingy glass and black steel. You can feel the sickness emanating off Street Basil's, the impossibility of healing. You watch the main entrance for a few minutes, feeling out the rhythms of the patients and staff, then check your gun under your leather jacket and walk around to the emergency entrance. Neon yellow ambulances look like space invaders among the crumbling grey bricks. A few imps are outside smoking cigarettes under the no smoking sign. Another entrance is locked and heaped up with trash, broken beds and furniture that no one ever got rid of. You don't see any other ways in that aren't locked with mechanical or electronic locks. There aren't a lot of cameras out here. That's good to know. You shoulder your duffel bag, walk into reception, and immediately understand why Leto gave you a pass key. The place is locked down like a liquor store. The reception desk is behind shatterproof plastic, the elevator is locked with a key code, and the main double doors that lead deeper into the hospital aren't just locked, they're watched by a private security guard. The waiting area is full of people slumped in slashed-up wooden chairs with orange cushions. It smells like apple juice and bleach. Julian babbling something about how modern statecraft is largely a project of internal colonization. Whatever, you have a key. You swipe yourself through. The light flashes red. So of course you try again, because it's just an old-fashioned magnetic strip card. The light flashes red again. The guard bright yellow taser on his left hip, Ruger LC9 on his right hasn't looked up from his game of Candy Crush, but one of the receptionists is watching you. Shit. You've been here for 30 seconds, and things have already gone sideways. You can't just stand here running this busted card through again and again, and this isn't the sort of place you can talk your way into. You scan the waiting patients, counting the junkies. There are a lot. Does one of them have bite marks? Some amateur vampire didn't lick the wound clean. Or worse, the kindred here are so thin-blooded they don't even have that ability. Instead of worrying about that, you focus on finding a way in. There are 3 ways inside from this room: the double doors with the card reader that won't read your card, a staff door that's locked from this side, and you can't exactly pick a lock in front of the guard, and the elevator, which is locked with a keypad. You saw some unattended entrances outside, but all the ones you noticed had mechanical locks. Maybe you missed one you could search again, though it wouldn't be easy to skulk around outside without drawing attention. I head outside and quickly pick the lock on one of the unattended access doors. Dex plus clandestine, I head outside and bash open one of the windows to crawl inside. STR plus clandestine, I fast talk the guard and convince him that I'm an outside researcher who needs to get inside. Man plus subterfuge / technology, I hack the elevator's keypad to gain access. And plus technology, I investigate the building's exterior, trying to puzzle out where an unattended entrance might be. And plus investigation, I focus my preternatural senses and look for an unlocked way in. Auspex, time. A lot of keypads use 0911 as an emergency override for police and fire. That doesn't work, but a common default password causes the elevator doors to slide right open. Change your defaults, people. You hit the button for floor 2 and are past security before anyone really pays attention to you. Once you're inside, no one bothers you. The stone walls of Street Basils are unnaturally cold for an Arizona autumn, like they imported the chill and damp from some 19th century mental hospital in London or Massachusetts. Though painted lines on the linoleum floors are supposed to lead to intensive care, orthopedics, radiology, etc. according to the paper maps on the walls, they have a way of fading out or vanishing, turning the near-windowless corridors into a labyrinth. Even your meticulous prep work was not enough, and even your sense of empathy, numbed by years of surviving as one of the living dead, can feel the miasma of sorrow and regret that hangs over Street Basils. It's ugly, but this is what we have to do to survive. The Kindred are awful creatures, and this is what we turn everything we touch into. Maybe I can find a way to help everyone here, kindred and kind. I'm only concerned with violations of the Masquerade that might get us in trouble. Do I see any problems? You wonder what to do. Even here in this single hospital, the magnitude of the awfulness threatens to overwhelm you. There's a stretcher in one hallway that looks like it's been unattended for days. Flies swirl as you pull the blankets off the corpse. You can see the chew marks on the neck and wrist. You're not sure it's your job to bring the local camarilla back in line, but you instinctively recoil at such an obvious violation of the Masquerade. You finally find a sign that says morgue. More signs lead into a particularly bleak corridor with old posters illuminated by buzzing yellow lights. There's nowhere to hide when a painfully thin woman appears out of the shadows. You hold up your lanyard and move to keep walking, but she steps in front of you. Patamaster wants to see you, she says, pointing to an office at the end of the hall. Don't keep him waiting. Patamaster has done everything he can to make his large, low-ceilinged office look impressive. He's cluttered it with a century's worth of executive power idols, from the Art Nouveau furniture in shining mahogany to the mid-century modern lighting fixtures to the little chrome clicky balls on a desk. The result is a confused agglutination of talismans with no consistency or power to impress. Patamaster, currently wearing scrubs so he won't draw attention, settles himself in an errant chair behind the desk, so his head is hallowed by a water stain on the concrete wall. The walls are otherwise lined with vintage automobile ads, like in Jay Leno's garage. He opens a laptop and gestures for you to toss him the lock, opens it, and pulls out a USB, which he plugs in. He leans back and two katanas appear in his hands as if from nowhere. You blink. It's a trick couriers taught me, Patamaster says. These are my friends, Duncan and Connor. He swirls the bloods through the air. You almost laugh, but shit, he really knows how to handle them. Getting on the wrong side of those blades might be a bad idea. The blades vanish just as suddenly as they appeared, and Patamaster turns his attention to what's on his screen. The Brucher takes his time reading whatever Leto sent him. You wait. Finally he leans forward and says, I know that Leto didn't just send you to deliver a letter. You're supposed to see how we're doing here. The Eagle Prince isn't happy with us. I can't say I'm impressed either. This place is a masquerade breach waiting to happen. That puts us all in danger. Maybe I could be persuaded to offer Prince Leto a positive review of Street Basil's. I'd feel much better about this place with a little money in my pocket. This place is an abattoir. Even vampires shouldn't behave this way. I could definitely see how this place could be run better. By someone like me. Wheels are turning in my head as I imagine a more efficient Street Basil's. Well, I'm not happy with the Eagle Prince. I'm an independent courier, not a Camarilla lapdog. You're probably too young to remember this, Patamaster says, but being a Camarilla lapdog used to be pretty good. Kiss a few rings, promise not to drink the souls of any elders, and they'd pretty much leave you alone to hunt, whatever you were. But then they lost clans Bruger and Gangrel and decided to reorganize as the Undead 1%, kicking out all the freaks and clanless. I'm not a lapdog either, Celeste. Lapdogs get scraps from the table. I don't get shit, except what I take. Or at least that's what I've been doing. But now we've got this new director, Kelly. She's spoken with the city about a full renovation. Windows, Celeste. Floor-to-ceiling windows. And worse, a remote administration system. If that happens, half the kindred here are doomed. I don't want that, and neither does Prince Leto. Director Kelly's already installed cameras upstairs. Her monitoring station is right down the hall. She fucking knows who I am. Not what I am, but what if she figures it out? You wait for Patamaster's offer. Technically you've already done your job. The information Leto sent me is enough to get rid of Director Kelly and return the hospital to my direct control. There won't be any renovations, any threats to my people or to Leto's base of power. But I need help. My people, they're all right, but look, they're fucking worthless when it comes to this kind of work. I'm going to need help getting this information onto the director's computer so we can make sure she's stopped. And of course, I'm willing to pay $1,000 once it's done, plus there will always be a place for you here. It's not much, but a vault in the morgue is better than a morning in the park, you know? Are you in? $1,000? I could make more money waiting tables. I need to persuade him to cough up more cash. But then, yeah, I'll help. Common man plus persuasion, I'll help, but you need to clean up your act before the Camarilla realizes how bad this place is. I lock gazes with Patamaster. He needs to understand how much trouble he's in. Common man plus intimidation, I'll work to stop the expansion, but I'm not working for you. I call the shots on this op. I need to make it clear that I'm taking the lead. Common char plus leadership, I want to prove my value right away by having a look at this monitoring station. Maybe I can use my computer skill. Where's this monitoring station? You ask. Patamaster waves for you to follow and takes you to an unlocked, unoccupied closet that smells like mold and Fanta. 4 old tower CPUs are wired together on a shelf, but there's no keyboard or monitor. I could just start pulling out wires, but Director Kelly would know, he says. And I don't want her thinking about me until she's gone. Still, can you do anything about this? You go back to Patamaster's office, take his laptop, and plug it in. A few minutes on Shadan helps you figure out what the director can see. And after poking around the parts of her network she's secured with weak passwords, you're able to give Patamaster some good news. She has all sorts of digital infrastructure in place for the eventual upgrade, you say, but almost no physical infrastructure. At least not yet. There are only a handful of actual cameras, and a few newer keycard readers, most of them upstairs. You send him a PDF listing everything she can access, where it is, what password it's currently using, if any the director hasn't secured most of her system yet, and where she would have to expand her physical hardware in order to match the software. This is great. Patamaster says. Shit, I need a full-time tech person. You did more in an hour than we've been able to do all month. Here. He peels off a roll of 20s. Buy yourself something pretty. And if you need anything else, just let me know. Patamaster cocks his ear, then says, my phone. Grab your shit and get out. You follow as he hurries back to his office. Hello? What? Well, the blood can't be everywhere. Surely that's an exaggeration. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, I'll get okay. 5 minutes. What? No, Sissy Spacek. No, Sissy, you're thinking of Rosemary's Baby. No, Carrie had the prom scene. With all the pigs, yes. It was Sissy Spacek, I'm sure. That much blood? Jesus. Okay, hold 5. Okay, 5 minutes. He hangs up. I need to go deal with a thing, he says. He opens an Art Deco bureau in black lacquer and brushed aluminum, pulls out a stack of scrubs, sizes you up for a second, then tosses you a pair. He rummages around in a bin until he finds a lanyard with a picture that looks kind of like you. Wear these, and no one will pay attention to you. You're in the top left. Top left? The lanyard has an aluminum key attached to it. In the morgue. Don't worry, it's not cold. No sunlight, and everyone down there works for me, so you're safe. Get a feel for the place. Director Kelly's office is guarded even at night, so I'm going to need you to look around for a way in. Once you're ready, we'll sneak inside and plant all this incriminating evidence on her computer. Right now I need to go deal with something. Show yourself out. You change, stuff your regular clothes into your duffel bag, and head to the morgue. Your slab in the upper left looks cozy. It's made up like a hospital bed, with sheets and everything. You've slept in worse places. You're not alone in the morgue, and that evening you meet the locals. The skeletally thin Rita May is a caitiff of Ventru descent, a vain and prim-fallen aristocrat who can't seem to keep blood off her lips. Patamaster you've already met. The Nosferatist courier sleeps above you, but he keeps a larger haven in the basement with his rats. The Eagle Prince gets an eagle, the rat beggar gets rats, Rita May quips. Others are in and out, a Japanese Malkavian who claims he was martyred in the 17th century and resurrected by Jesus Christ, 2 thin bloods covered in scabs that never go away, and a woman who might be a ghost or some other kind of thing you don't know much about. They're sad, poisonous little creatures. The increasingly elitist Camarilla would be disgusted to count them as members. The only problem now is that you're getting hungrier and hungrier. You really ought to do something about that. I prey on the sick and infirm while they sleep. I'll need to decipher their medical charts to make sure I don't target anyone with diseases of the blood. And plus technology, I'll prey on the physically injured. It'll take stealth and steady nerves to sneak into those wards, but their blood should be healthy. Maurice plus clandestine, street. Basil's keeps bagged blood behind an old combination lock, but I'm smart enough to get into the vault. And plus clandestine, I hone my senses, then attack the combination lock that's keeping me from the bagged blood. Auspex, I don't feed just yet. The chronically ill in street. Basils are kept in a dreary, low-ceilinged ward, out of the way of the hospital personnel. They're often grouped 4 or 8 to a room, and neglected by the nursing staff for hours or even days. This makes stealth a non-issue. There's always a room full of unconscious people. The only trick is figuring out who is safe to drink from by reading the old-fashioned binders clipped to their beds. Most diseases cannot harm your lifeless organs, but there are certain blood-based pathogens that can leave you physically weakened. But a quick examination of the medical charts turns up nothing you need to worry about. You find a particularly healthy-looking specimen recovering from a staph infection and sink your fangs into his neck, savoring the way the clean blood mingles with the tainted flesh. You lick the wound clean and pad out of the ward, sated. You spend the next few nights just getting a feel for the hospital, its deranged layout, and its ugly, secret little corners where the sick huddle and the vampires feed. You listen in on doctors and insurance executives as they conspire and embezzle, nurses as they sell opiates to patients and people waiting outside. Doped-up patients who keep asking what happened to their cell phones and if their families know they're there. You check out urgent care, where accident victims are forced to sign whatever is put in front of them before they're brought inside, the furnace, where surgeons dispose of evidence of their botched operations, and the lobby where, it seems, the same people are always sitting, waiting for help that won't come. And of course, you spend time upstairs, outside Director Gelly's office. The guards never leave, but her security isn't impenetrable. You just need to find a way through. It would be easier with Patermaster, but he's busy dealing with one crisis after another. With your scrubs and lanyard, you're able to move freely around the hospital, but you're starting to feel watched. You're invisible to the regular guards, the dull-eyed men and women with black street Basil polo shirts and bright yellow tazzes, but you keep seeing people with short cropped hair, military boots, and black windbreakers that are just a little too heavy for the weather outside. The black jackets operate out of a sealed, windowless office separated from the mostly abandoned rehab services wing by particleboard walls and old office equipment. And they keep looking at you out of the corner of their eyes. The more time you spend in the administrative wing, the more they look at you. It's different people every time, but you're sure they're professionals. You're not sure they know what you are, but there are too many of them, and they follow you too closely whenever you're in the public areas of street Basils. You don't want to approach the director's office until you know more, but you'll have to be careful. Too many mistakes will expose you, and Patermaster's followers, a clear violation of the Masquerade. I grab, bag, and interrogate one of these mystery guards. This is a risky two-step operation requiring both stealth and fighting skill, but it'll get me what I need. Maurice plus clandestine and STR plus combat. I use my phone to research who these guards are. It'll be hard, but it shouldn't open me up to much risk. And plus technology. Time to hit the hospital corridors and do some simple investigation, talking to people and looking for clues. Maurice plus investigation. I heighten my senses and begin my investigation. Auspex. This hospital is so old I can fit in the ventilation ducts. I haul myself up, crawl to the guard's office, and hold on to see what I can learn. STR plus athletics. I tail one guard in my car when they go home. I'll have to stay cool to avoid notice, but I can probably learn something from following one. Wit plus drive. I track down some tools. I'm going to drill through the wall between the old rehab services office and their office. I'll have to be smart to find the right spot to drill. And plus technology. I enhance my senses. Superhuman acuity will help me drill the right spot in the wall. Common Auspex. As fun as Mission Impossible adventures might sound, you have a cell phone and a world of information at your fingertips. You take a few surreptitious pictures of the mystery guards, note the gear they carry, then get to work in the empty storeroom outside the morgue. A few searches on Yandex turn up names to go with the faces you've photographed. And after that it's easy. Your target's stint in Afghanistan leads directly to private security work through a dozen mercenary contractors with fast-changing names. Then to a company called Roadrunner, a protection agency that was investigated in 2016 for its connections to an illicit opioid distribution network that ran all over the Southwest. The company disappears by 2017, but the network definitely didn't. These black jacket guards are just Roadrunner, and they're still running opioids. And they're doing it right out of street Basil's. The next thing you do is try to connect every name and face you can find to everything you know about the Second Inquisition, the C's political fronts, militia groups, associated armed forces details, police fraternal organizations, everywhere they operate, everything you know they've infiltrated. And after 3 hours of solid work, you have good news, because you have negatives across the board. As far as you can tell, there are no connections between Roadrunner and any factions of the sea. So, if you piss them off, they're going to come at you with assault rifles and hand grenades, but not stakes and flamethrowers. That's a relief. The Roadrunner guards are busier now, but they're not paying any attention to you. You spend a few nights scouting the hospital director's office, figuring out ways to get inside. Patamuster has been unavailable for several nights, even though you've made it clear you'll both need to act soon to make the upload. He returns to the morgue before 7 p.m. Just as you're getting dressed after a shower. I want to know. The Brucher shouts back over his shoulder, his ragged voice echoing down the halls. Answers, or you're cut off. The thin, pitiful wails of the ghouls reach your ears as you shrug into your leather jacket. Denied vitae, the blood of vampires street. Basil's ghouls will soon resume aging, if they don't go mad from withdrawal first. The threat is downright cruel. The Bruger stomps past you, his eyes burning, and slams his fist into one of the slab doors, denting the metal. Then he rips it off its hinges and flings it against the far wall. You know the reputation of the rebels for their terrible fury, so you wait for this storm to pass. Finally Patamuster squeezes his temples and crumples against the wall of the morgue. He's ditched his scrubs for a tweed jacket and a bow tie, like a mid-century doctor on holiday. What happened? You ask. Rita May's dead, he says. Rita May, the painfully thin caitiff, slept in the slab Patamuster just tore apart. Someone cut her head off. I found the body last night. I was stuck outside the hospital with it all day. I'm going to find out who did this, Celeste. And I'm going to kill them. He glares at you with red-rimmed eyes, as if you might be responsible. You're not sure you have time for this, but Patamuster looks haunted. I don't have time for this. Pull yourself together and stop looking at me like I know anything. I'm doing his job and I won't be threatened. Comma man plus intimidation, I try to reason with him and persuade him to be sensible. Let's focus on saving the hospital first, then we can investigate. Sound good? I'm not wasting time on a dead caitiff, I have real work to do. Comma man plus persuasion, show me to the body. I'll run an impromptu medical examination and autopsy to see if I can learn anything. Comma and plus technology, show me the body. I'll use my preternatural senses to aid my side. The headless, emaciated corpse is waiting for you on a metal gurney beneath a fluorescent lamp. Older vampires grumble to bones or dust upon final death, but Rita May was young. Decomposition is noticeable, but the body is still intact. The head was severed using a sharp, heavy blade, not a claw, which is always a possibility. No one's borrowed Duncan or Connor, Paternoster says, patting his invisible swords. The other noticeable injury is the puncture mark in the back that pierced the heart. You used tweezers to pull splinters out of the flesh. Staked, Paternoster says, discounting the unlikely possibility that Rita May fell out a window and landed on an upside-down table leg. That narrows down the search to people who know how to paralyze a vampire. But more importantly, there's a noticeable deformation around Rita May's back. Whoever slammed this stake into her back did it with superhuman force. That narrows it down further. Someone used their undead strength to guarantee that the stake would pierce flesh and muscle to reach its target. Finally, though you have no head to examine, you can now see minor wounds around the clavicle, just below the clean severing line. Corrosion caused by Rita May's body crumbling upon her final death? Maybe. But you also see similar wounds on her toes and ankles, and one on her palm. You examine her clothes, a long dress, open-toed sandals. The dress is chewed up at the hem. Oh, Paternoster says. I know what those are. They're rat bites. You nod. Whoever destroyed Rita May summoned creatures of the night to attack her, then drove a stake into her back with superhuman strength. Any powerful vampire could develop those powers, but there aren't any powerful vampires here, except Paternoster. And he doesn't control rats. Courier does. The Nosferatu. It's easy to forget how fast one of the rebels can move. You could probably keep pace with him, but you're not ready to burn Vitae just yet. Paternoster flashes down a hallway and then down the stairs into Courier's private haven. He's a black outline in the glow of a single yellow bulb ... and then the bats descend. And then the bats get torn to pieces, because Paternoster pulls his two katanas out of nothing and turns into an undead Cuisinart for a few seconds. The bats patter to the ground, halved or quartered. Paternoster flicks Duncan and Connor, splashing blood on the walls and ceilings, then keeps going. You step carefully so you don't slip as the Bruger stalks forward, covered in blood and wings. Then Courier bolts out of the shadows, cracking the tiles with the unnatural strength of his jump. Paternoster dodges, faster than you can track, and slams both his swords through the Nosferatu's ribcage. Courier clatters and screams as he tumbles end over end with both the swords through his chest. He rolls to a stop at your feet. You can feel the rebel's fury boiling off him. This is not just mindless rage, but righteous disgust at what the sewer rat has done. Murderer, Paternoster whispers. He wrenches the swords out of Courier, twisting them as they come out, and the fallen vampire groans in pain. She was ... Rita May betrayed you, master, not me, Courier says. She was moving opioids with the Roadrunners. Those black jacket guards. She realized I knew. She would have. We don't destroy people for what they might do, Paternoster says. Are you a prince? He kicks Courier across the dark and dingy room. He smashes through a chair before rolling to a halt against a rusted filing cabinet. But then the rebel sees you and stops. Perhaps the word prince made him hesitate. His authority is considerable here in his domain, but Paternoster is no prince. You don't represent the Prince of Tucson, let alone whoever runs Phoenix after the sea and the beckoning depopulated it, but Prince Leto will want a full accounting of what happened here. That's a complication for both you and Paternoster. So, he says, looking down at Stkorius and gritting his teeth to master his rage. What would a real prince do? Stkorius destroyed another vampire without having that right. The punishment for that, anywhere, is destruction. I don't give a damn about princes. But these vermin are worthless and weak. And Stkorius got caught. Destroy him as a lesson to the others about infighting. The traditions of the Camarilla are cruel and inflexible. Stkorius and Rita May feuded because she worked behind your back. She started it. He ended it. The punishment should not be destruction. Maybe Stkorius can save his own life by telling us everything he knows about the opioid distribution network. Neither of us have responsibility here. I can drive him to Prince Leto or whoever runs Phoenix, but I'm not losing my head because we overstepped our authority. Those file cabinets are probably full of data on the Roadrunners I can turn into resources. I check, and if so, I tell Pater Mustard to destroy him. You're right, Pater Mustard says. Even today, elders have a habit of coming out of the woodwork and demanding obedience, or claiming that you violated some unwritten code or another. I don't want you driving Stkorius back to Tucson, though. That would give Leto too high an opinion of himself. And here in Phoenix, there's only ... Let's just do what we can tonight, and I can worry about the rest of it once you're done here. You're not sure where Pater Mustard got the broken chair leg. It appears in his hand a split second before he drives it through the Nosferatu's heart. Until matters are settled here, Pater Mustard says, that should keep Stkorius from destroying anyone else without my permission. You and Pater Mustard finish your investigation by cataloging everything in Stkorius's private haven and making sure there's nothing valuable. There isn't, except of course for his battered file cabinet, which contains hard copies about the Roadrunner agent's distribution network. Finally, the two of you head back to the morgue. It's been a successful night, though the moment the Rita May mystery has been solved, Pater Mustard starts worrying out loud about the promised expansion of the hospital. Street. Basil's Hospital Morgue. Phoenix, Arizona. Night of November 18. Sunrise, 6:45 a.m. It has to be tonight. Wednesdays are frantic all day, then quiet all night, with frequent call-outs among the street Basil guards. The Roadrunner guards are also unusually quiet on Wednesdays, since they're busiest on the weekends and Lilo in between activity cycles. After the destruction of Rita May and the revelation of her involvement with the opioid sales, Street Basil's kindred have been subdued, which is good, they'll stay out of trouble. You and Pater Mustard have spent enough nights surveying Director Kelly's office that you have a good sense of its layout. It's at the far end of the Executive Administration wing, behind a door that's locked and guarded the moment the director leaves in the evening until she returns an hour after dawn. There are normally 2 guards, except on Wednesdays, when only one is on duty. The only other entrance is through a high, narrow window that you'd have to climb down from the ceiling to reach. The office itself is sparse, with an old computer, a meeting table, and old metal filing cabinets full of hard copies that doctors and hospital administrators constantly have to access. No wonder she wants to upgrade this place. The computer is an ancient desktop model, which makes it unexpectedly secure. You'll have to physically access it. The good news is that Pater Mustard clung to the wall outside the window and watched Director Kelly enter the password last night, so you have access. The Executive Administration wing is blanketed with cameras, but that's where Pater Mustard comes in. His office is right down the hall from the security monitoring station, and he's waiting to temporarily disable the cameras, just like you taught him. Then all you'll need to do is reach the director's old desktop unit and enter the password. I can just act like a doctor to gain access. It'll take total composure and persuasion, and ideally some basic medical training, but Paternoster has an outfit for me. Comic-Con plus persuasion and technology. The guard takes a 10-minute break at midnight. It'll take iron nerves to hack the door lock in time, but I can do it. Commerce plus technology. I drop down from the ceiling, hold on with all my strength with one hand, and slice through the window using a glass cutter with the other. STR plus athletics and clandestine. There's no way I'm going to be able to pull this off. I leave the thumb drive and head home. Paternoster was able to uncover the director's computer password, but the office door uses a keycard system not used anywhere else in the hospital. And worse, you haven't been able to get close enough to look at it, so you'll be going in blind. You hurry to the executive administration offices, which are empty except for a custodian emptying the recycling bins, and settle in to watch the guard from one of the few positions that isn't under camera surveillance. When he leaves to take a piss, you text Paternoster, and he kills the cameras. Then you get to work. You relax when you realize that this isn't a high-security model, it's just a pretty standard keycard reader, like the ones they use in hotels. Your phone isn't ideal for this kind of work. Fortunately, you carry plenty of peripherals. There's nothing on this lock that prevents you from pulling up its memory, no authentication requirements, so you just mess around for a minute until you find the door open code. The door pops open. You're in. You pull all the wires and junk out of the card reader and slip inside. The old CPU boots right up, and the password works. Most of Street Basil's feels like it was entombed in 2003, but the computer has a USB port, and you slide your weapon right in. You get a text from Paternoster, upload the virus. Get everything you can from that computer. He's watching from his own computer. Or one of his tech-savvy lackeys is. There's probably someone downstairs who knows you're not here to upload a virus, it's just a program that plants incriminating information in a number of spreadsheets accessible by other members of the hospital staff. So now you're faced with a question. According to Prince Leto, the falsified records on this USB, once injected into the hospital's old and proprietary database program, will trigger such a financial meltdown that Director Gelly's future plans for redevelopment will be scrapped for at least a decade, leaving Paternoster and his creatures to continue their lives in peace. If you do that, both Paternoster and Leto will be grateful. Or you could transfer whatever Julian sent to you along with the USB. That'll let the two of you effectively take over the hospital. Wealth and glory will follow if you believe Julian. He does seem to like you. Of course, Paternoster will react the way Brucher always reacted to betrayal. That'll be one hell of a fight, and he has those swords. Or you could just get rid of these creatures. You're no staunch humanist, but isn't there something pathetic about Paternoster and his caitiff, scavenging for blood here in street. Basil's. You would make enemies of everyone if you let the redevelopment go through, but street Basil's would stop being such a black hole of despair and disease. I upload the USB contents and help Patamuster stop the hospital expansion. I need to prove my loyalty to the Camarilla. I upload the USB contents and help Patamuster stop the hospital expansion. These sad caitiff and cast-offs deserve a place to call their own. I follow Julian's instructions. We're taking over and getting rich. I follow Julian's instructions. I want to be part of this new world Julian envisions. I let the expansion go through. The world will be a better place without Patamuster's vampires feeding on the sick of street Basil's. You upload the USB, then follow the simple instructions included with his email. There are no flashing lights, just a few numbers that change around on the creaky old proprietary database system street Basil uses. A minute later you get a text from Julian, "I'm in." He sends you a Shutterstock photo of a hacker in a black hoodie in front of a laptop. The next text reads, "Send me everything on that computer." You've developed a sixth sense for when trouble is closing in, and you know you still have time. You grab everything you can from the old desktop and drop it into a shared folder for Julian to explore. Once that's done, you decide you've taken enough risks for one night. The door has a peephole, so you wait around until the guard goes on another break, then leave the way you came in. Patamuster is waiting for you on the second floor, between the administrative offices and pediatrics, his eyes red and burning. "So you thought you could betray me and my people," he says. "It's close to 4 a.m. now." The halls are quiet. Patamuster's swords appear out of nowhere. "And you think you can just drive home to Prince Leto after what you did? Well, not if me and Duncan and Connor have anything to say about it." His swords blur, his eyes burn, and he charges you. "It'll bring trouble our way, but I draw my pistol and shoot Patamuster down before he reaches me. Dex plus firearms, it'll take both speed and ferocity, but I get in close and hammer Patamuster with my fists. STR/Dex, I snarl until he backs down. Patamuster doesn't want to die for his followers. Char plus intimidation, I compose myself to jump out the window and escape. It'll hurt, but probably not as much as those swords. Com plus athletics. You're not facing those swords, even if they have stupid names. You duck Patamuster's first two vicious swipes, then jump for the narrow window. The glass shards bounce harmlessly off your unnaturally hard skin. You land, duck, and roll. Patamuster leaps out the window, but he overestimates his own strength and hurls himself halfway across the parking lot, landing on some doctor's Mazda MX-5. both his legs go right through the roof. "Shit. Come back here," he yells, flailing his gate harness around as you run past him and jump into your Nissan. "So, you have a hospital now." "Well, Julian has a hospital, and you have Julian's ear. That will net you a small but regular income, and it's certainly more interesting than doing the Gamorilla's bidding. Patomuster might be a problem. On the other hand, the Tucson Camarilla has no particular love of street. Basil's Riffer for their semi-exiled leader. A few miles southeast of town, you pull over and swap out the license plates. When you pass the Motel 6 where you dropped off your old phone, you see that it's been burned to the ground. It's been leveled so thoroughly you have to check your map to make sure you're looking at the right place, because it's just gone. You stop about a half hour outside of Phoenix to sweep your Nissan for bugs. You don't find anything unusual. It looks like no one really paid attention to your truck, but your thoughts turn to everything you learned about the Roadrunner guards and their opioid smuggling. You could certainly put what you've learned to use. I turn everything I've learned over to the police and get the drug smugglers shut down. I check for C contacts in these organizations, which will secure the Masquerade and insulate me from hunters. I turn everything over to Julian. Maybe he can strip their organization for parts. I turn everything over to the Gamorilla to try to get back in their good graces. I drain their accounts and transfer everything to me. You'll stop at a print shop back in Tucson and make hard copies of everything you've learned, then hand it over to Prince Leto in a really fancy-looking folder. The Gamorilla love that sort of thing. You're back in Tucson by 3 a.m. Another job done. Early the next night, you roll past the Viper. One of Prince Leto's people recognizes you and hands you your payment. You take a moment to make sure the money adds up. You return to your parking garage and park the Nissan. The day you dream of sand. Smoke rises from the twin wrecks that stain the dunes. Your Albatross was merely a functional machine, adequate if unloved, but the prototype's staggering spad your rival flew was a thing of beauty. You have seen many wars but never one so unlovely as this one. Your shattered legs are still healing. The jump was better than the flames, of course. Then sand slides down another dune. The other pilot. His goggles and cap are gone, so his shaggy blonde hair gleams in the moonlight. He sees you, draws a pistol, then puts it away. "You should be dead," you say. You try Arabic, then French. "I fell from horses when I was alive," he answers, "and now I fall from planes. They both hurt about as much." The nearest village is 30 miles to the north. "Shall we walk together?" As you walk, you consider what this means. August 1917. This pointless war has filled you with doubts. You joined ... Why did you even join? To become a hero? To prove yourself to the Banu Hakim elders of the Ottoman Empire? But now you realize the smallness of the truth. for Kainitz, the highest virtue is survival. Just getting by from night to night is all one can really ask. Maybe other things can follow that, mercy or rage, art or wealth, but without mere survival, there is nothing. This truth is harsh but inarguable. I must prioritize perpetuating my own existence. I take care of myself, but I'm not going to survive just to survive. My existence needs more than that. I defy this false belief. Kainitz are parasites on the world, and our existence is a blight. I might want to perpetuate my existence, but I will not call that a virtue. Higher aspirations might be noble, but you swear yourself to survival at all costs. You will do what you must to see the next midnight, and the one after that, and so on down the ages. Conviction gained, kindred should do what they must to survive. You rise to find an envelope waiting for you, earnings from your partial stake in Street Basil's hospital. Then you spend $153 on upkeep, maintenance, fines, and fees to perpetuate your twilight existence. You tune the Nissan's radio to hear the news. This is Mel Pomini Chen, and you're listening to Mel at Midnight. It's time for business news. Street. Basil's Hospital, ranked worst hospital in Arizona for 15 years running, is under new management. No longer a public Catholic healthcare partnership in flagrant violation of the U.S. Constitution, Street. B's has been taken over by a private equity company based out of Singapore. We're sure that the mysterious owners will show Street Basil's all the respect private equity has showed other non-hospital organizations they've taken over, like Sears and Toys R Us. Remember Toys R Us? Tucson, Arizona. Night of November 22. Sunrise, 6:59 a.m. There's no traffic in Tucson that evening as you drive to the Viper and drift to a halt outside. Once again, Riga watches you, and once again a flunky runs up to your truck. He hands you a USB on a lanyard, no lock box this time. No Prince letter this time either. The flunky also makes sure you have your typewritten sheet of directions and false government IDs. Only deliver to Olive Krona, he says. You're at the edge of town when you realize that you've done 2 jobs for Prince Leto and you're getting low on supplies, microfiber towels, zip ties, line for cinching it up shut if you're stuck out in the sun, that kind of thing. Fortunately, it's still early, so you roll into an AutoZone across from a convenience store where you can stock up. You pass the payphone there and check it to make sure it still works. You know every payphone in Tucson. You get a dial tone. Good. You walk inside. And you instantly know you're being watched. I walk out. I'm not getting dusted tonight. Bye. I'm here to fix my truck. Someone wants to come at me while I'm buying armor all, fine. But I need armor all. I make sure I can reach my gun. The best defense is shooting someone down before they start shit in a car parts store. Watched by whom? I walk the aisles, confident I can spot whoever is looking for me. You keep browsing while you watch the anti-theft mirrors. You don't have any trouble spotting the woman who's looking for you because she's the size of 2 big men. You can tell because she's got 2 big men behind her. All 3 wear tight black suits. You see the cashier watching you from the anti-theft mirror. She wears a red AutoZone polo, but from the way she's standing, she's just drawn a pistol and she's holding it below the counter. Good evening, Celeste, the woman says. You've seen her before, and this time you memorize her features: white, middle-aged, graying brown hair in a French braid. Really huge. My name is Agent Donati with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'd like to ask you a few questions. He grabs your arm, which is definitely a violation of all sorts of protocols and policies. You keep your beast in check. You're going to listen to me, she hisses. And then you're going to do what you're told. You pull your arm away. Am I? You're going to help us bring down Leto Kaminsky. He has a last name? Whatever, I don't care what happens to a prince. Never heard of him. I'm not telling a hunter anything about the Camarilla. What's it worth to you? Maybe we can strike a deal. I'm interested. The kindred are corrupt and violent. Maybe I can use Donati against them. I've been doing this for longer than you know, and still I don't have a lot of time, Agent Donati says. So I'll be quick. Oh, do you want to check your watch? You fight the urge. Leto Kaminsky is the head of a crime syndicate that stretches across most of Arizona. His organization is involved with human trafficking, organ legging, racketeering, organized auto theft. and fraud so long-running and extensive that in order to encompass its full extent, I had to track down copies from the French Masquerade and the Spanish Guardia Civil and Turkish translations from the Ottoman Empire. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand how long this has been going on? She sounds tired. Then her eyes narrow as more customers arrive. One watches you suspiciously from beneath a low-slung black cap. Hunter? Investigator? Whoever he is, this is a problem. Donati wants answers, but you don't want to say anything too revealing. The Masquerade is strained enough in Tucson without one more curious citizen tipping over into active supernatural sleuth. What are you planning? And be honest. I keep my eyes and ears open and try to keep my mouth shut. I don't want to run my mouth in a way that breaches the Masquerade around these customers. I'm serious about you making it worth my while. What can you offer me? I might as well negotiate and see what I can get. I lower my voice dangerously. You need to get out of my face, because if you say something to these customers I don't like, I'm going to make sure they die. That should impress the Camarilla if anyone is listening. This Kaminsky guy must be really old. Shouldn't be hard to arrest an old guy. I play dumb, lying and manipulating Donati into telling me useful information I can use. Your subtle cues make it clear to Donati that some of these customers are potential breach of the Masquerade and the sea wants vampires exposed on their terms, not anyone else's. We're planning to protect America from people like Mr. Kaminsky, Agent Donati says, dropping her voice to a whisper. Our methods are unconventional, and they might even interest you. But right now I only want your assistance for when we move on to Tucson. When is that? You ask, wandering away from the customers. Donati follows. She doesn't answer, but she does hand you a card, sliding it into your hand so no one else can see. You check the card. Ask Department of Justice Federal Bureau of Investigation Samantha Donati Special Affairs Division. There's a physical address, an email address, and 2 phone numbers. When you glance up again, her dark blue Ford Fairlane is rolling out of the parking lot. The cashier took off, so you just grab what you need and head back to your Nissan. Riga watches you from the roof of the AutoZone as you leave. It's a 7-hour drive to the big nothing on the map between Texas and Chihuahua, assuming this information is accurate. That means you can get there in one night and back the next. You've checked where you can stay on the way if you're refused shelter. There are a few hotels nearby, but you're going to be heading right out into the desert. You hope you don't have to spend a day wrapped up in a body bag. It's bad for the nerves. Julian calls you somewhere outside of Benson. A kill team is coming for an Olive Kroner, he says. Details are on the USB. You glance at the USB. Unlike the last 2, it's not in a portable lockbox, but it's definitely encrypted. A kill team? The sea? In that case, why didn't Prince Leto tell you to, hurry? You're probably wondering why you weren't told to hurry, Julian says. I can hear you sigh. That's good, it's good to keep breathing. Anyway, as usual, the ivory tower is acting like a good thing will last forever. Remember that rat's nest of a mobile home park in Mescal? That's gone. But this is worse. The program at Campsville could fuel half of our people in Texas, but it's run by a greedy idiot. I'm offering you a deal, let's take it over, just like we did Street Basil's. You consider what to say. Obviously Julian just blew your phone's cover so badly that you'll have to get rid of it, but now that you're talking, you need information. But why aren't I in a hurry? Something about this doesn't add up. and I think it's putting me in danger. So, how many sea goons am I going to have to kill to get out of there? I'm interested, but you need to tell me more. I don't like going in blind. I don't actually want to run a prison camp for Mexicans where we steal their blood, you know. It sounds like Ellen has a good thing going. Why ruin it? Tell me what you know. I'm going to stop whatever is happening down at the border, and if Julian wants to give me information on how to do it, fine. I don't want to do all kinds of things, Celeste, but you know, I have to eat. And it's not like we can fix the world's problems, after all. This is humans doing awful things to other humans. But if someone's going to skim off the top, it might as well be us. You'll notice that I'm not the one who fucks up all the time and draws the sea down on my head. That's the ivory tower. We can do better than them. HMM, you say? What people like Ellen don't understand is that the actual location of the camp doesn't matter, Julian says. Just the government connections that keep the blood and bodies flowing. The data. We need the data. If we can get access to her information, we have everything we need. Let the mortal government snatch the bodies we need. Once we have camps full of data, we'll be set up again in months, with all the connections we need to keep the operation running. You turn Julian's words over in your mind. Oh, one last thing, the Banu Hakim says. You'll need to ditch that phone, too. Thanks, Julian. There's a storage place off exit 306, Julian says. Go to Unit 43. Passcode is 3847. Drop your phone or don't destroy the SIM, then pick up a new one on the shelf. That's the only way you're finishing this job. He hangs up. You pull into the storage facility and do the phone trick again. The 5x5 storage cube has a brand new flip phone waiting for you, still in its original packaging. You grab it and get back on the road as quickly as you can. Security is tight around Camps Filler. You're followed once you turn off the main road, first by the Texas Highway Patrol, then by some kind of patriot/militia group in a Chevy Tahoe flying Gadsden and Blue Lives Matter flags. They only peel off when you reach the outer periphery of the camp, high fences topped with razor wire, guarded by men in face masks and goggles. The face masks look like respirators, and they're all painted the same way, like a great cat's mandibles. Though everyone seems to have respirators and at least one cat skull logo, weapons and other equipment are heterogeneous and irregular. From their mannerisms, you detect a mix of competent ex-military, police/security personnel, and untrained fringe militia types. The gate guard looks from your government ID to your very much non-government Nissan, shrugs, and waves you around to the parking lot. You spot a familiar face as you look for a parking spot. Who is that man? You slow down, trying to see his face clearly under the black ball cap, and then you suddenly remember. The abandoned filling station. The migrant family. The Nosferatu White. That man barely survived the attack. You're sure it's the same guy. And here he is, hundreds of miles away, with the stride of someone packing a .357 Magnum under his windbreaker. A cluster of civilian contractors wanders between you and the man, and just like that, he's gone. Throughout history, certain kinds of prisons have served as neutral meeting spaces and feeding ground for the kindred. Insane asylums, concentration camps, and gulags have drawn vampires with the promise of easy blood and relative security. Olive Kroner, shadow director of Camps Filler and member of Clan Ventru, has hidden this place from regular inspection and allowed it to fester and grow ripe. You roll past open-air holding pens where prisoners sit trapped in reflective plastic blankets, watching your Nissan with dull and hopeless eyes. Guards patrol with rifles or dogs. As you finish your circuit and park, still scanning for the man you remember, you watch some kind of shift change among the prisoners. They're being put to work in long, low-quonset huts. The wind carries the stink of unwashed and unhealthy bodies, and this is autumn. You wonder how they don't all boil in the summer. The moment you step out of the truck, a tall, dark figure of indeterminate gender in a dark suit approaches you and says, "Give me the USB. My orders are explicit. I deliver the USB to Olive Kroner. Good evening. Can I have your name and your position in this organization? Who the fuck are you? Give me one more order, and I'm going to shove you through a window and feed you 2 pounds of broken glass." Okay, now I'm giving you a new order, you fucking parasite. Give me the USB. Fuck all the way off. Dominate. If you don't back off right now, I'll make you regret it. This goes to Olive Kroner, not her dog. Man plus intimidation. Is this flunky for real? I start by investigating their appearance, using what I know of government and Camarilla protocol to see if they're legit. And plus investigation. This goon doesn't want a scene. I persuade them into backing down. Why don't you just take me to Olive Kroner, and we can deliver the USB together? Man plus persuasion. I give them a USB drive. Not the USB drive, of course. I stay cool and palm the real one. Okay, now I'm giving you a new order, you fucking parasite. You keep them talking for a few more minutes. A careful analysis of their mannerisms reveals a few useful things. They're either a ghoul or a junkie, and given the amount of muscle they carry, they're probably not a junkie. They're not officially part of whatever militia group patrols this camp. But when a few of them pass by, their reaction is deferential. A non-binary person who can command the respect of these militia thugs has to be dangerous. They don't look amenable to any of your social skills, but you can see that they're tired. You might be able to trick them if you're careful. Fuck all the way off. Dominate. If you don't back off right now, I'll make you regret it. This goes to Olive Kroner, not her dog. Man plus intimidation. This goon doesn't want a scene. I persuade them into backing down. Why don't you just take me to Olive Kroner, and we can deliver the USB together? Man plus persuasion. I give them a USB drive. Not the USB drive, of course. I stay cool and palm the real one. This deception will let me hand the flunky a blank. Plus subterfuge. This fight isn't worth my time. I hand over the USB, then look around for something interesting to do around here. Fine, you say. You hold up your hands in a gesture of surrender, flick your right hand, make the swap with your left, and hand them the blank USB. Don't yank me around again, you little leech, Olive Kroner's flunky says. Now follow me. Follow? That wasn't part of the deal. But you can see those masked guards all over the place, and they're watching you now. You reluctantly follow. They lead you to a bright red Quonset hut guarded by a man and a woman who are also dressed in dark suits. I'm sorry, Nile, the woman tells your escort, but Olive Kroner can't be disturbed. I have information from Tucson, Nile says. The woman shifts uncomfortably. I know, but... Is that you, Nile? That must be Olive Kroner. She's inside. Is Celeste there? It doesn't matter, it'll have to wait. Just give her a place to stay for tonight. Tomorrow night I'm busy. I have data from Tucson. Nile says, but only silence answers them. Shit, the flunky mutters. They glance your way, then say, I'll find a place for you to stay, Celeste. Don't wander far. Now to figure out a way to deliver the real USB. You wander right back to your Nissan. Someone stuck a boot on it. Great. It looks like you're staying. You get a consolation prize for your booted Nissan, a lanyard that lets you wander around without getting shot. You also get a private trailer, too, complete with shower. Trapped but not exactly a prisoner, you explore the complex. The camp is laid out like an open-air prison, with temporary Quonset huts serving as separate holding pens for men, women, and children. Due to overcrowding, an overflow pen topped with razor wire holds several hundred more people. Right up next to that pen is a place called Millicent's, a kind of Rikscaffam for Kindred, where the vessels are so plentiful it's almost free. After using your ID to pass the security checkpoints, you poke your head inside Millicent's and count not just 12-wheeled Camarilla types, but also anarchs of all kinds lounging among the dazed-looking blood dolls among the low couches and glittering lamps that establish a sort of 1920s French Algeria/1990s Pier 1 tour style to the place. You're pretty sure the biker gang is made up of gangrel, since there are two wolves among the outlanders. You also spot some creepy-looking figures in boiler suits that you've heard about but never met, Russian exiles, mostly rabble if the stories you've heard are to be believed. You listen in on some conversations and learn the names of a few lunatics, surats, and clanless hangers on that the new, more aristocratic Camarilla wouldn't normally tolerate. Millicent herself is small, frail, and elderly, a peculiar choice for the embrace by most standards. She looks like a librarian from a black and white movie. But it sounds like everyone is welcome to grab a drink at Millicent's. This is incredible. A vampire could get used to living the good life, if this is what the Camarilla is offering. This place is a fucking atrocity. I'm going to deal with Camps Fuller one way or another before I leave. How careful is Olive Kroner being here? Is this whole place just a massive masquerade breach, or does she run a clean operation? I try to have a night toward the future and this place can't be efficient. What ways can I see to improve it? Millicent glances up when you pass through security and enter her bar, then returns to her work. Right now she's taking notes even as a hulking vampire shares a hollow-eyed vessel with a harder-looking brute in a Soviet captain's uniform. Millicent's looks well-run and secure, but God only knows what the rest of the kindred here get up to. The pit outside in particular is a mess. It's not mainly masquerade violation as such that you fear, but the pit is such an obvious vector for disease and mortal-on-mortal violence that it might draw outsider attention. And even as you watch, you notice that the Soviet kindred is using a needle to steal blood. Of what use is blood measured in cubic centimeters? Those look like biomedical samples. Interesting. Maybe you should bring that sort of thing to Olive Kroner's attention. You head back outside and check the mortal guards. They're a truly bewildering mix. Some are actual police, state police or from nearby municipalities, others give every indication of belonging to the armed forces, from their kit to the way they carry themselves. Others are just fringe militia types, citizens patrols, patriot groups, even bikers, loaded up with ammunition and given those cat skull masks. You see men and women in suits, some of them wearing windbreakers or lanyards that indicate they're with ICE or Border Patrol, the FBI, or even the ATF. Food at your fingertips, a loyal army of soldiers, and a situation that blends perfectly into the chaos and carnage humans have wrought on one another. Olive Kroner has built her own private paradise here for vampires. Everyone else is in hell. You constantly see Nile and lesser underlings running back and forth on errands to maintain the place. That's a sneakernet data being physically carried from place to place, just like what you do. Data is flowing everywhere here, and it has to be coming from a central source. If you could get your hands on all that blood traffic data, who knows what Julian and you could do with it. Of course, neither Olive Kroner nor Prince Leto would be happy if Julian copied the data and set up his own little oasis. I feed on any of the countless sleeping prisoners in the main pit. That shouldn't be difficult at all. I go to Millicent's and select a vessel. That should be as easy as the pit and a little more upscale. I can't spend all night doing this, but I ask around for the man I recognize from the White Attack. I take that boot off my truck. I'll have to be quick and efficient with a few illicit tools so I don't get noticed, but it should only take a minute. Commodex plus clandestine. I look for something to steal. I can't let the Camarilla just feed on these people. I look for a way to free them. Julian wants allies to exploit this place. I head outside and talk to the anarchs. After showering, you check the red tent, but it's sealed up tight. Olive Kroner is deep in negotiations with other branches of the federal and state governments, and with private charitable organizations that need cheap labor. What the hell? She must know you're here, but between her million and her endless parade of guards, you can't get in. Worse, more and more vehicles seem to be parked around the camp. Too many people, you think? The Masquerade is endangered by this kind of lively chaos. As you make plans for the evening, a hideous Nosferatu in ragged clothes appears. She introduces herself as Lenora, a facilitator among the different Anarch groups that feed in Camp's Villa. If you're looking to aid the Anarchs here, she is willing to help. She leaves her contact information, as well as a shoebox full of camp records as a sign of good faith. These are copies of Olive Kroner's contacts in the blood trade. This is exactly the sort of hard data Julian is looking for. I can't spend all night doing this, but I ask around for the man I recognize from the White Attack. I take that boot off my truck. I'll have to be quick and efficient with a few illicit tools so I don't get noticed, but it should only take a minute. Commodex plus clandestine. I look for something to steal. I can't let the Camarilla just feed on these people. I look for a way to free them. Julian wants allies to exploit this place. I head outside and talk to the all kinds of clerks, sanitation technicians, and medical personnel are necessary to keep camps full running. You seek them out and ask a few questions. People get real quiet, so quiet you're convinced they know something. Apparently there are rumors that the prisoners are planning some kind of mass escape, and that the man you're describing is somehow involved in that. You're not sure if that's true, but you suspect that if you're interested in finding the man from the abandoned gas station, doing something for the prisoners might be the way to start. The only solid lead you gain is a name, Rael. I take that boot off my truck. I'll have to be quick and efficient with a few illicit tools so I don't get noticed, but it should only take a minute. Commodex plus clandestine. I look for something to steal. I can't let the Camarilla just feed on these people. I look for a way to free them. Julian wants allies to exploit this place. I head outside and talk to the Anarchs. An hour of scouting yields a few possibilities. Your easiest bet is to hit the temporary lockers. Once new prisoners are stripped of valuables, their equipment is stored in 5x5 storage cubes in a fenced-off part of the camp. The cubes are barely guarded, and you just have to keep your composure that close to the guards. If you can do that, you can try opening cube doors until you find an unlocked one. Rewards will be small, but risk is minimal. If you're looking for greater and more risky rewards, you can head into one of the Quonset huts where the least organized militia group keeps its cash and weapons. You'd have to force one of their lockers, but they're not too well made, and you have your portable crowbar. It looks like the militias have also constructed some office space out of trailers. Some of those offices hold cash and other valuables. You just have to be smart enough to disable the alarms, though that shouldn't be any harder than whacking a locker with a crowbar. Finally, if you're looking for some real high-risk high-reward excitement, you could break into Olive Kroner's car. Okay, maybe not hers, but there's a private parking lot behind the red tent where Olive Kroner and several other members of the Camarilla keep their rides. If you're clever enough to time the guard circuits just right, you could get inside and grab whatever is valuable there. I break into the guards' lockers looking for weapons, money, and other valuables. STR plus clandestine. I disable the alarms in the trailers and look for things to steal. and plus subterfuge, I hone my senses to make disabling the trailer alarms easier. Auspex, I keep my wits about me and break into some nice cars. I'll be in a lot of trouble if I mess up, but I bet that's where the best stuff is. Wit plus clandestine. I enhance my senses so I don't miss any guards, then break into a car. Auspex, it should be easy to lie to the guard watching the lot and tell them they need to open one of the cars so I can get my stuff. Man plus. You check the trailers and get a feel for the alarm system. The more secure ones have motion sensors and other technology that will take you too long to bypass. You avoid those and focus on one with a simple silent alarm hooked up to the door and the single window. You check the alarm's make and model online, then spend a few hours making sure the alarm system is as primitive as you think it is. And it is. It's just an unencrypted radio signal that's transmitted between the sensors. You intercept the signal and use your laptop to figure out what it's sending, then just spoof the data and convince the sensor that everything is fine. That was the only hard part. You crawl in through the window, find a desk, and rifle through it for several $100s in cash. You're gone in minutes. The next day you're repeatedly jarred awake by the sound of heavy equipment moving around. Vampires sleep heavy, but your nerves are on edge all day. Someone bangs savagely on your door just as you get ready to leave. Courier. It's Nile. Get out here. Olive Kroner wants to see you. You poke your head outside to confront the Ventru's underling. The sky is still tinged with purple in the west. Meet me at the red tent. They snap. Then they take off. You've been ordered to the red tent, and you feel eyes on you as you step outside. After a few minutes spent checking possible exits, you enter the red tent for the first time. The guard dog that's always outside takes the lead. You follow the melon. Most of it isn't offices, like you were expecting. Instead, dozens of migrant prisoners, mostly women, are lined up in front of refurbished laptops performing mechanical Turk-style labor. A few with good English skills appear to be phone banking for Texas politicians or Christian charity organizations. Past a security door is a crude facsimile of a government office, complete with forward paneled walls and a deep blue carpet. Image description: Ellen Olive Kroner, Ventru overseer of camps. Below you find Olive Kroner in an oversized office, seated at an elaborately carved wooden desk in front of a Department of Homeland Security seal. Olive Kroner looks like the picture you saw of her. She's tall and gaunt, with long blonde hair arranged in an elaborate braid. She wears a blue-black pantsuit decorated with more silver jewelry than most government workers. Her colorless eyes meet yours. You detect a flicker of distaste and disappointment. "Oh, the courier is here," the Ventru says, as if you haven't been trying to deliver the USB for nights. Tired of waiting, you march past Nile and slap the USB down on her desk. "From Prince Leto, I assume?" she says. Before you can answer, she drops beneath her desk, rummages around, and pulls out a spare laptop. She inserts the USB, then starts to read. Nile's eyes widen at the revelation of what you did, but the retainer says nothing. HMM. "The Second Inquisition is coming," Olive Kroner says. "Thank you, Leto." Nile clears their throat, then says, "Isn't that a problem, ma'am?" "An opportunity," Olive Kroner says, rubbing the head of her melon. The animal elicits no reaction. "For too long I've tolerated all kinds of trash at this open feeding hole. Now the seat gives me the opportunity to get rid of the anarchs, the hangers-on, the filth. We will take the data we've gathered here and use it to stake a claim at another holding facility. There are dozens to choose from. And the new one will be for the Camarilla alone. She checks what Leto wrote her again. Yes, this confirms what I know, and what I've planned for. Nile, a kill team from the Information Awareness Office at the Pentagon, will be here in the morning. Your plans are waiting in your office. Read them now. Leave us. Nile gets out of there, leaving you with a very satisfied-looking Ventru. And at that moment she is every inch the Ventru, a born ruler, always 3 steps ahead, always totally in control. She looks you up and down, hardly bothering to hide her distaste, then gestures for you to sit. So you're still here, she says. If you are looking for more work, I could use you, Celeste. I reward loyalty. Her eyes narrow, and her earrings glitter in the cheap artificial light. I return loyalty. That's all we kindred have, you know our bonds with each other. Technically you've finished your job here and should be able to walk right back to your truck, but before you can say anything, Olive Kroner says, Campsville can always use a competent professional who is not already entangled in local politics. In exchange for helping me with certain matters here, perhaps I could teach you something. This might be an opportunity to earn the Camarilla's respect, rather than their grudging cooperation. If you're offering to teach me your arts, I'm interested. I prefer to work in cash. I remain silent. I don't much like what I've seen here, and I'm not getting indebted to Olive Kroner. I don't teach the secrets of my clan to just anyone, Celeste, Olive Kroner says. You must earn my respect. Our mental powers and our near invincibility are not tricks that anyone should be allowed to learn, you understand. She settles her hand on the melon, nor are my personal discoveries about how to command beasts. But if you aid me, yes, I am willing to spill my blood for you and teach you my secrets. Common disciplines available from Melon Olive Kroner: animalism, dominate, fortitude, presence. And if not, if not, Celeste, why are you here? That's a good question, and one that might not deserve an honest answer. I'll be straightforward if cautious. I'm here to help the Camarilla. I'm impressed with what you've done here. I need to start transferring data and power from Olive Kroner to me and Julian. I choose my words carefully. My real goal is freeing the prisoners. I consider what I should say. So, you're something more than Prince Leto's pet messenger, Olive Kroner says. I'm glad you recognize what I've been able to create here. This operation is really incredible. I'll stay on my best behavior and compliment her. That's easier right now than leaning on her. Combat plus persuasion, the anarchs are drawing all kinds of attention you don't want. I'm intelligent enough to deal with street criminals, and I offer my services. And plus streetwise, your underlings are crooked and stealing blood. It shouldn't be hard to offer my services as a shrewd auditor and investigator. And plus investigation, I try to stay neutral and analytical, carefully gauging her mood. So, this place is an abattoir. I have some problems with that. Wit plus awareness, I use my superhuman senses to gauge her mood and point out that this place is an abattoir. Auspex. She sits up straighter, every inch the imperious Ventrue, then relaxes into her chair. She doesn't bare her fangs or even sneer, just dismisses your opinion with a haughty sniff. How typical of a usurper to be sentimental. You study Olive Crona, whom you know only by reputation. She might be a Ventrue chauvinist, but you don't think she's a psychopath. Princes don't live like this, you say, glancing back toward the rest of the red tent. I'm not a prince, she says. Weren't you supposed to be? That was dangerous. But you see a flicker of doubt and irritation cross Olive Crona's face. It's hardly an abattoir, she says. And if it is, it's not mine. Humans are doing this to humans. We just skim off the top. But if you're having a crisis of conscience, perhaps I can put you to work. I'm listening. Mortal political institutions are exceptionally unstable right now, as I'm sure you know, Olive Crona says. I need an inventory of vulnerabilities, and I cannot trust my own people. The unfortunate treatment of some prisoners here is a vulnerability, one I don't mean to repeat when I move. Perhaps we could work together on this, and then you could fulfill your normal function by taking a summary back with you to Prince Leto. You'll be paid, of course, but in addition, I will consider a more extensive arrangement for when I establish a more efficient version of this camp. I would not want you going to work permanently for Leto, after all. That's sea raid. You say. You don't want to sound alarmist, or to impugn Olive Crona's abilities, but I'll see your car and move to a secure location, she says. And free to move, of course. Also, take this. She hands you a folded map of the facility. You scan it and tuck it away. This will be useful however things go down. I give those to people I trust, Celeste, Olive Crona says. Somehow she makes it sound like a threat. Olive Crona's complacency is alarming but also strangely convincing. Has the supernatural charisma of Clan Ventrue subtly influenced your reaction? No. Certainly not. You stand up, confident that you can help the Camarilla manage a successful evacuation so they can rebuild elsewhere. The Milan escorts you out, then freezes and finally reacts to something, snarling at the man in the door. You're a hard woman to find, Ilan. I can't believe you made me leave my gamer chair. You turn at the familiar voice. Julian Sim stands in the doorway. The Ventrue racks her brain for a moment, then says, the water boy? Julian Sim, the Banu Hakim says. He's wearing a Junjito hoodie and a sly grin. Ellen waits a beat. You realize she's waiting for her retainers to swarm Julian, but they don't come. She reacts graciously to that revelation, gesturing for her dog to stand down. What do you want, boy? She asks the Assamite. I want you to stop overestimating your chances, Julian says. He tosses a plastic folder full of photographs and documents on Olive Crona's desk. Her eyes widen as she sorts through them. The EOW kill team is going to smash you to paste and then light the paste on fire, Julian says. You don't have time to pack everything in neat little boxes. Get out now. But yes, all your hard work, very sad. Run a tighter ship next time. How dare you, fledgling. Olive Crona snaps. The Millington Isles. That's Dr. Fledgling to you, GS10, Julian says. What's your degree in? I don't know, lots of things. The point is, I am offering my services to expedite your evacuation. OCR scanners? Encryption? Olive Kroner asks. No. Then what? I drove here in a van full of librarians from the University of Arizona. Olive Kroner's eyes dart from you to Julian and back to you. Celeste, keep an eye on Sam while his librarians help me pack. The moment you're out of Olive Kroner's earshot, in the fast emptying main room of the red tent, Julian takes you by the elbow and says, "You better not be helping Ellen. Get me the information I need from this place, and I can rebuild it data point by data point somewhere else." Ellen can't. She thinks she can, but she doesn't have the time or expertise. You glance around. At least one of Olive Kroner's retainers are watching Julian at all times, so Julian can't actually fight you if you defy him. Get your fucking hands off me, Julian. If you want to help, go pack some boxes. I'm doing what I need to do to survive the night, Julian. You should try that instead of trying out all these schemes. Unlike you, Julian, I'm capable of loyalty. Olive Kroner and I are working together on this. If Julian thinks he can cut me a better deal than Olive Kroner, I'm changing sides. Fine, I'll make sure you get what you need. I really do like the idea of duplicating this place, with me and Julian in charge instead of the Camarilla. Okay, I'll get you what you need. Julian just shakes his head. You're making a mistake, Celeste. We're young and allowed to make mistakes, but not forever. He signals his librarians and starts grabbing whatever he can get his hands on. Now you're going to work while Julian steals everything he can. You step outside the red tent. The evacuation is really kicking off, with Olive Kroner coordinating her underlings and Julian pretending to help her while chatting with you. He seems friendly at the moment, and stealing as much as he can. You consider how you can help. Or help, as the case may be. Olive Kroner keeps a lot of files and equipment on lockdown in the red tent. What is she hiding in there? If you can keep your wits about you, you could use the distraction to break into her secure area and see what's back there. Your Nosferatu contact, Leonora, could help you organize the Anarchs to load up supplies, which would take leadership skills and attention to detail mostly to make sure they didn't steal too much. If you're smart and technically inclined enough, extensive computer data is waiting to be transferred out. The equivalent physical data, boxes of files, folders, maps, and mimeographs, would require an equal degree of intelligence, as well as a good understanding of academic research techniques, in order to grab the most valuable material. Olive Kroner's operation is already a mess, whether digital or physical. Someone with a keen eye for detail might just be able to hang around and spot everything that gets dropped, misplaced, or misfiled. There's a lot of equipment to move, and the cat-masked guards aren't helping. Why would they? This is vampire business, and most of them don't understand what's happening. But you could ask Olive Kroner for money and pass some of her cash around to get the guards working for you. And while the Russian Brujah would have to be persuaded to help, their tent is right next to Olive Kroner's. If you could convince them to help with the evacuation instead of just fleeing, they might be useful. Whatever you do, you can't let this data get caught out in the open. If the sea hits you before it's packed up, it'll be a significant breach of the Masquerade. I work with Lynora and the Anarchs to get equipment loaded onto their vehicles. Comrades plus leadership, I'm going to borrow a vehicle and hide it so prisoners can make a quick getaway. I'll have to be careful and patient to avoid notice. Comrades plus drive, I heighten my senses, which will let me avoid patrols as I find a place to position my stolen truck. Common Auspex, I need that computer data. I start packing up the most important computers and technology. Comma and plus technology, I organize the physical files, putting my determination and my Olive Kroner is organized, and she has followed Prince Leto's dictates about keeping physical backup copies, but she clearly wasn't prepared for a fast move. When you enter the part of the red tent that holds interstate trade documents, you find her retainers scrambling to figure out which files are necessary and which can be destroyed. You ask for a copy of the filing system and spend an hour calmly organizing the information, then pass out your recommendations to her clerks. Your plans are noticeably better than panic and argue, so they put your protocols into effect and finally start moving the necessary documents out in good order. You oversee the transfers while shredding incriminating duplicates. You peer into the back of your Nissan, which is currently full of whatever equipment and information Olive Kroner's flunkies could toss into it, including a whole file cabinet and several old tower-style CPUs. Elsewhere the evacuation is proceeding smoothly. It's time to roll, Olive Kroner tells Nile. The retainer nods and gets Olive Kroner and the Milan in her jeep. Julian sighs. You don't think he was able to steal much from the blue blood and hops in his Sprinter van. For a moment you wonder what's going to become of the prisoners. No one let them out. But then an F-150 behind you lays on its horn and flashes his lights like you're not rolling forward fast enough in a Burger King drive-thru. The convoy is moving. You roll through the main gate. Julian used to say that when a plan went perfectly, everything was boring. He only said that about his StarCraft games, but it applies in real life, too. There's some action behind you, and a helicopter screams overhead 10 minutes up the road, but if the Information Awareness Office or whoever authorized this op expected a pitched battle, they should have struck earlier. You're gone. Since dawn is so near, the convoy starts to break up a half hour outside of the camp. You find a location taped to your sun visor. 5 more minutes of driving. You're just starting to feel nervous as the eastern sky lightens and you turn onto a dirt road and arrive at an abandoned wildlife conservation facility, boarded up but so far from many major highways that graffiti has barely touched it. You check inside. The windows are covered, and no light can get inside. This will do. You head into the abandoned building to rest. You get back on the road the moment the sun sets. You keep off the major highways. The radio is full of wildly incorrect chatter about the terrorist attack on an ice holding facility. You reach Tucson before midnight. You stop at the Viper. The Eagle Prince's flunkies show up to take the data Olive Kroner loaded into your Nissan. While they work, they talk about how a storage facility off Exit 306 also got raided by the police. At least one of their number died in a shootout. You make sure the retainers don't steal anything that isn't theirs, then head inside. The Milan was waiting for you. The dog jerks its head, signaling for you to follow. Olive Kroner is waiting for you in a well-appointed meeting room of the Viper you've never been in before. She's dressed in a long black gown, like she's going to the opera. Hermelin curls up next to her leather armchair and watches you, red stones glittering on its collar. "I promised you a reward if you helped me," Olive Kroner says, "and I keep my word." Common disciplines available from Olive Kroner: animalism, dominate, fortitude, presence. "I'd be honored to study under you. And I really would. She's always kept her word to me, after all. I can't stand this woman, but I want her secrets. Let's begin our studies, then. I prepare to receive her blood. I'd prefer to be appreciated in cash. I think we can help each other. I don't want what happened at Camp Scylla to happen at Camp Celeste, you understand? I want her help hiding from the sea. You sink to your knees as Olive Kroner removes one of her opera gloves and digs into her wrist with a nail. Her blood tastes ... like nothing. Nourishing, perhaps, but flat and neutral. Like one of Cole's experiments in artificial blood. But then the whispers start, the insinuations, and you feel the awesome power of Clan Ventru, strength, mastery, control. You pull away before you're overwhelmed. "I can remain for a few nights to instruct you," Olive Kroner says, sealing up her wound. "In that time you will learn to control mortals and beasts. You might even learn to control yourself." You head for the Elysium and meet Prince Leto on the stairs. He's dressed in a tuxedo, as if he's just about to hit a nicer place than the Viper. "Ah, Celeste," Leto says when he sees you, "it's good to see you in one piece after the sea got through with Camp Scylla. My man Alexander has prepared a room where you can type up what happened." Leto's ghoul, Alexander, leads you to a room with an old-fashioned typewriter. When the old ghoul scans your work, he says, "Prince Leto will be satisfied with this. Let us hope that we can find a way to rebuild quickly." Alexander hands you your money. You head back to your Nissan and make sure the money adds up. You return to your parking garage and park the Nissan. You check your earnings from your partial stake in St. Basil's Hospital, then spend $206 on upkeep, maintenance, fines, and fees to perpetuate your twilight existence. After a day of fitful dreams, you throw on your leather jacket and engineer boots and get ready for another night. You open the door and walk the 8 feet to your Nissan. It's good to work from home. A metallic-hued sports car rolls around the corner of your parking garage, gleaming high-tech headlights cutting geometric blue-white patterns across the dingy cement. Julian Sim parks his Fisker Karma next to your Nissan, steps out of the sports car, and looks around. Julian is wearing a Nicolas Cage dragon shirt under a zip-up glitch hoodie with the Rebel Alliance logo from Star Wars. "You haven't done anything with the place," the Banu Hakim says. "Nice Fisker. Can I have one? Never hurts to ask. Are we going on another caper? I honestly wouldn't mind a caper right now. I work for the Camarilla now, Julian. Leave me alone." I cross the parking lot and take his hand. "I missed you." Let him interpret it however he wants, but I really am glad to see him again.